Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Wednesday morning quick hit with Ross Alan Skorzewski, and that's me. I want to welcome you back to another beautiful morning here in Green Bay, but I welcome you to this beautiful morning that you are finding yourself experiencing right at this moment, wherever you are, in whatever time zone you are in. I hope that all of you have been having an amazing Wednesday morning. We find ourselves once again in the middle of the week, and I wonder how you're doing. And I thank you once again for joining in. I am still and always will be very grateful and humbled by all your amazing comments. I'll dive in a little bit here to see who's all on, and we'll just continue to connect. I really appreciate the feedback. The feedback really begins to resonate and just solidify why it is that Dr. Patrick Flynn pushed me out of the nest and said, "You must do this show." And I was like, "No!" But then again, I see your comments and all of your kind words, and it just further solidifies and confirms that Ross needed to get off his butt and do something a little bit more than what he does, thus coming into your world, if you so would have me, on these Wednesday mornings or whenever it is that you go back and possibly watch this at a later time. So with that, welcome to another edition, episode, session, whatever you would like to call it, with me. So let's do this real quick. Grab your cup of coffee if you have it this morning. I hope it's organic. It is here at least. It's a beautiful thing. Let's take a quick cleansing drink of caffeine. Shall we begin? Over the last few weeks, we've been going through some really great keywords that are setting the stage for us to be more intentional with being proactive about taking the steps necessary in our life to bring about, I would maybe even say for some of you, if these are the first steps, as they were and still are for me, radical steps that are being taken to improve this. To improve this in the hopes that it comes down and it penetrates the heart and it brings about an existence and an external representation of the life change that we are hoping to see happen on the inside of us, so that we can be better representatives of that person that we so long to be every day as we interact with those that matter most to us, whether it's our spouses, our children, our loved ones, close relatives, our friends, and our co-workers, which along the way hopefully become friends and almost become just like family. Speaking of family, I got to let you know, we just got back from an amazing training seminar down in Atlanta where all of the doctors across the United States came together. We went right down to the Atlanta Gateway Marriott, and we had an amazing 2 days of, once again, intentional training. The first day was all personal growth and development, and the second day was amazing training that was brought on clinical levels for all the docs to continue to take them further in their practice. But what I loved about this training was, even as I just mentioned, the hopes that we can so develop ourselves and bring ourselves along this growth track is that we begin to see ourselves doing life in a way that is more in harmony with those that we do life with in day to day, rather at this kind of organized, hectic, chaotic element where it sometimes is driven by more frustration and annoyance and bitterness and resentment. But what we got to experience is something that we are very intentional in, and that's why we do this show, is so that you can be intentional in bringing life change in your world. And the reason why I said whether it's with your family, your kids, your spouses, your loved ones, or maybe those that you work with, because what I experience here every day, even in the midst of organized chaos, in the midst of the hustle and bustle, is the idea that I get to come to work and I get to lock shoulders with amazing people that have become family to me. And that's what is amazing about this, because we are all pursuing a like-minded goal and yet willing to do it locked shoulder to shoulder. So that's why we're intentional with personal growth and development. And when we were down in Atlanta, all these doctors and all these friends of ours, we got together and it was an absolute blast. So once again, intentionality. It is something that we bring into our work culture, but it's also something that we intentionally put right smack dab in the middle of our pursuit of our personal lifestyle, which influences our overall ability to thrive in any culture, whether it's work, social, whatever that element might be. And in this, though, I want to talk to you about a couple things that started to kind of resonate with me over the weekend, some things that I began to see that set the stage for me to kind of rewrite how I was going to go about today's edition, episode, session. Like I said, whatever word you want to use. And as we were down in Atlanta and we would find ourselves in breaks, we would go off and eat together as friends and peers and family, our workplace family, is we started watching on some of the TVs around us. And I was really dialed into it because being in high school, I was a former track student. And imagine this short vessel doing things on a track field. I'm sure maybe like a 40-yard dash, 100-yard dash or something like that. But I actually remember in high school, because of the influence that my brother had in my life, he's a little bit taller. I wouldn't say much taller at the time. He's actually shrunk and he's lost more hair. So Kevin, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, I love you, but hey, it's the truth. Although, yeah, it is what it is. You were more successful in track than I was. But he decided to do hurdles. And I thought about this and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to try hurdles. There's lows, mediums, and highs. There was no stinking way that this thing was going to do highs. So I did lows. And it was an actual interesting experience because the mindset and your approach to actually running a race with obstacles intentionally placed in front of you is a little daunting, especially when you don't successfully make it over. Because you can run the race that is set before you, and you can be intentional about completing that race, but you have to be successful in the technique to actually execute a proper jump over that hurdle. So as we're down in Atlanta and as we're doing dinners and lunches on the TVs in some of these areas, they had, I think it was the World Finals, where all these athletes, these refined machines, these amazing individuals who have taken their athleticism to levels to represent their country, come together, my guess is, to see who goes off to the Summer Olympics and who does not. But they had multiple times where I was seeing they were doing these hurdle races, you know, where there's the highs and the mediums. And I'm thinking, holy stinking cow, these guys, number one, they're fast, they are refined, and they either execute the overcoming of that obstacle with ease or they struggle. And I remember watching these races, and I even thought back to myself in high school doing track, and I thought to myself, you know, the main objective of that race is to start and not disqualify yourself by beating the gun, but to come out of the blocks right, but then to successfully set yourself up with the right amount of steps to be taken before that hurdle presents itself to you so that you can, with the right foot, your lead foot, go over that hurdle, set up the next couple of steps so you can once again go over that hurdle with the right lead leg. Now, I know that along this whole track, you know, we're thinking, well, everybody's going to jump over these hurdles and they're going to execute this race with absolute refined precision and everybody's going to clear it and it's a matter of who's faster. And you know what? Race after race after race after race, I began to see that's not so much the case, nor was it in high school for a bunch of 16, 17, and 18-year-olds who didn't really have a refined approach to such an event. We executed to the best of our ability, but there were still many hurdles that were knocked over. There were still many times that people stumbled as they approached that hurdle. And that obstacle in front of them never really fully detracted, though, their main objective, which was to cross the finish line. And as I was thinking about this coming in today's episode, especially after having amazing episodes with you over the last 4-6 weeks, was thinking, you know, we're talking about all these great terms, whether it's trust, respect, to protect, and all these other mindset, right, and perspective, all in the hopes that we can continue to be intentional with this growth track that we are on. But today I'm going to do a little bit of self-disclosure with you because there are obstacles that we all have presented in our lives. There are all obstacles that we have either, you know, conquered with great expertise, or there are obstacles in our lives that have, for some odd reason, been these obstacles that we have not wanted to tackle, that we have actually detoured around, and the obstacle never really truly goes away. But what I loved, like I said, about watching these races on the TV was seeing that these athletes, no matter how many hurdles they knocked over, no matter if they even stumbled and fell, you know, barring any major great injury that would have prevented them from actually finishing the race, they either get up or they just keep trucking along and they don't look behind because they've overcome that hurdle, and they know that their main objective is just to continue to refine their technique at being able to tackle the next hurdle in the next race. But they always push and they always push, because really, in the mind of an athlete, even though that one race has one finish line, there's still another race to be won. There are still more obstacles to overcome. There are still more hurdles to clearly overcome or knock down, but you still got to move forward to complete the race. And the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, as you watch, this race of life of ours that we find ourselves on every day doesn't end just because we've overcome a series of hurdles. This race that we have, that we do every day with our workplace environment, our home life, our social life, is a race that will continue to go on until we find ourselves 6 feet deep, pushing up daisies, and in the hopes that somebody would come by and just maybe remember us for what it is that we have accomplished in life and celebrate the imprint that we've left on the world behind, the legacy. And that's what I like about this concept this morning, of being able to look at the idea of a race with obstacles and hurdles. And I want to take a look at one word real quick here, because even at 43, there have been many obstacles that have led to great growth, but then there have been many obstacles that I have avoided because they were too painful or they were too intimidating, and really brought about this inward reflection on myself to look back and say, man, I wish I would have had the fortitude. I wish I would have had the mindset and the perspective like these athletes, that it doesn't matter if you knock one over, that if it doesn't matter that you fell, that you get up and you continue to keep running, that obstacle ahead of you, you are really set up to actually overcome. Your inability to overcome comes to really bring more of a reflection inward that says, there's time for some growth. There's time for some pain. And there's time for getting dirty and to start actually planning an actual approach to get you over that hurdle, not to go around it, not to deviate, and not to detour. Let's once again go to the internet, the worldwide interweb, and look at this wonderful word called an obstacle. And this is what it says. A thing. Imagine that, right? A thing, because Lord only knows what that thing could be. That blocks one's way or prevents or hinders progress. And the question I have for you, as I even have for myself, because remember, as we talk about growth tracks, as we talk about personal growth and development, even here this morning, on this Wednesday, is that there are always going to be obstacles that pop up in your life. But how are you setting yourself up to mentally and physically actually be able to overcome that obstacle that is set in front of you? And I'm going to share with you a little bit. I'm going to kind of go back for quite a few years here, because I had a major obstacle in my life. And to be honest, I bet that there are a lot of you that have also had major obstacles that you can begin to reflect, where you actually had to take an intentional posture that said, no more. It stops now. I am going to overcome this. I'm going to see resolve come to this area of my life that seems to keep popping up and up and up and up. And see, that's the wonderful thing. Hurdles, every race that you run, they're always there. Can you imagine the mindset of some of these athletes, knowing that every race that they have, they've got a series of obstacles that they have to overcome, but they've so refined their mindset that they're able to actually execute every race with the mindset that they are going to do their best to win. See, I think that's a mindset that I've had to embrace, even at 43, coming along to where I am today, is that it's a mindset that has probably come later in life instead of earlier, because of the obstacles and because of certain circumstantial things that I let take place that I didn't tackle and overcome earlier in life. One major one, self-disclosure, and I'll share this with you, is the idea that when I was a young boy, my father, it was on Christmas Eve, I was 4 years old, he left, he just booked Dodge, and he split town. And that forever altered, at that moment in time, 4 years old, my ability to be able to grow up in an environment and thrive with the wonderful life-giving message of a father in my life. And I remember even going through wonderful classes or sessions or I don't know what you call them at that point in time, with a psychiatrist who sat down with me. His name was Dr. Birmingham. He was a great guy, and I remember it as if it were even yesterday, a lot of these sessions, because of the imprint that this moment in my life had left. And I remember there was a time he's like, hey, why don't we just write your dad some letters? And I thought, perfect. Maybe this is a great way for him to be able to establish a reconnection with me. And I wrote these letters, and I remember them coming back to me and being handed to me unopened, and actually over the name, return to sender. And I thought to myself, holy stinking cow, 7, 8 years old, and I'm getting this strong message of rejection that began to set the stage for some most unfortunate mindsets to be embraced, which led to negative life behaviors that played out over a pattern of years, because I never really understood what was taking place and what was going to be necessary from me to overcome this obstacle that was now being placed in my life. And what it came down to was this idea that over the years, I began to resent this man. I began to have deep-seated bitterness and anger harbored up on the inside of me. And instead of bringing about a positive growth track, it really set, unfortunately for me, a wrestle within. And I took a war that was internal and I brought it into the external. And instead of being able to thrive in a lot of other relationships, I brought chaos. Because I wasn't at a place, even at 7, 8, 9, 10, but then when I got into my high school years, I wasn't at a place where I was really mentally ready or even prepped to be able to understand how to overcome these obstacles. And I even think to myself, there are many people who've had unfortunate circumstances like I went through, where you have somebody that says, I want nothing to do with you, or have spoken negative messages over you. It could be as recent as this last weekend. It could be as recent as a year ago. It could come through a divorce. It could come through a necessary ending on your workplace environment. But yet it creates an obstacle, once again, that you must overcome. And I loved what happened, because I remember it came to a point in my life. I was 18 years old. This was right before I asked my beautiful bride, Leslie Ann Skorzewski, to marry me. And we were high school lovers, and it was a beautiful thing. But there's something that started to resonate on the inside of me. And it was this idea that in order for me to become the better version of myself, whether it was now because I was choosing to go on a life course as a potential married man, how was I going to be a married man that was able to thrive going forward without the pain, the resentment, and the bitterness and anger of the rejection from the past? And all that began to really resonate inside of me was, holy stinking cow, I'm not getting married. I would love to have kids. So how am I now going to be that individual that is going to thrive as a father, knowing that I'm still harboring this obstacle that I have yet to overcome in my life, that looked like resentment, anger, and bitterness towards my father because he wanted nothing to do with me. It was almost like I was letting that moment in time forever define my ability to thrive. And that's why I love what we're doing here. That's why I love what we do with our personal growth and development times here at the Wellness Way with Dr. Patrick Flynn and other people who rise up and train and educate in this organization, is that it really does, is it challenges you at the core of your being to really get you to a place where you can go inward and reflect and tackle those obstacles in your life so that you can see growth, that you can see life, you can see necessary endings, resolve, peace, setting the stage for great things to take place in your life. All that continued to resonate inside of me was this concept of forgiveness. And I was like, there will be no stinking way that I'm going to forgive this man. I remembered him sending back letters to me that said, return to sender, how rude, how dare he abandon his position in this life to be the most formidable individual that speaks life into me. And I was so fueled by bitterness, anger, and resentment. And little did I know, in all honesty, that one moment, unresolved, that hurdle, that obstacle, not overcome in my life, popped up into so many relationships, so many ways that I was doing life on a day-to-day basis even as a young employee in this world, even with relationships with my in-laws and even family, my mother and close friends or people of authority in my life, because of that unresolved issue in my life, set the stage for me to have an improper perspective and a healthy perspective of how to conflict well, how to resolve well, and actually how to implement a really strategic and intentional growth track. Because you can't successfully grow in life personally without actually overcoming the obstacles that are set before you every day. If you're constantly on a growth track of avoidance and you're constantly looking for the detour, you are going to find yourself very, very frustrated. You're going to find yourself always wishing and always looking, that the grass is greener on the other side. You're always going to be seeing other people's success and just having the wonder, the what if, I shoulda, coulda, woulda, or pointing the finger and potentially blaming others for your inability to succeed in life. That obstacle that you face, that I faced, led to one thing. Not only is it obstacle that we're focusing on today, but it is also that the idea that it comes to a place in time in order for you to really move forward in life and overcome some of these obstacles, or I'll even say this, past unresolved issues and obstacles that still have a bitter sting on the inside of you, that need some attention, but it's intimidating, it's painful, and you don't want to encounter that obstacle. It only continually furthers your frustration. You might be good for a season, but all of a sudden something happens, someone says something, or something happens in a relationship, and the sting of that unresolved issue continues to come to light, begging for you to overcome. Not that the issue wants you to be overcome. No, it's you longing for that moment to really, will I ever experience peace? When will this go away? Will it ever stop? Make it stop. Yes, it will stop when you become intentional with deciding to overcome, to do your best and to make it over that hurdle, no matter how much you might struggle, no matter how much pain there might be, how much you might cry, or what cost it might actually bring that is expected of you, that you overcome so that you can set the stage for your own confidence and your ability to believe that any race that is set before you is winnable, that you can achieve that next hurdle, that next obstacle, no matter what size that it might be. But it comes down to this, and I love this word, forgiveness, because that's all that continued to resonate inside of me when I was looking at this at 18 years old, saying, how am I going to be the best father? How am I going to be the best husband? How am I going to be, at that point in time, best pastor if I can't overcome this issue that is so resonating on the inside of me? It was as if I was in this slingshot and I was being held back from this large pivotal moment in my life. And it was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to continue to avoid this? Are you going to continue to run from this? Or are you going to tackle it and you're going to hit it head on, no matter if you stumble, trip, and fall, but you're going to make it over no matter what the cost? But it all hindered on that one word, forgiveness, which we all know about and we all love, because when we bring offense to others, we long for forgiveness to be extended our way. But it's when others have transgressed us and have brought great offense in our world that we find ourselves struggling with our capacity to really bring about, I believe, the truest form of forgiveness. And listen to this, it really is as simple as the action or process of forgiving or being forgiven. But what I love about this is it takes us on to another word, exoneration, because I think one of the greatest things that could ever possibly happen as we find ourselves in a growth track that we are really wanting to see the stage set for greatness, from that is ordinary to be poised to do extraordinary things, is that we learn how to set people free from the pain that it is causing us from unforgiveness. That we exonerate those individuals in our lives, not because they're going to reflect that in return to us, or not because it's going to bring about this great moment in life that is fueled with restoration, but because it's going to set you free as you set others free. And mostly, in all honesty, it wasn't my father's actions of rejection toward me that were holding me back. The man was absent in my life for 16 years. There was no message of positivity or negativity coming in my way to influence whether I could thrive or not. It was me. My inability to truly harness and run a race that was set before me, but to actually make it over the obstacles. I avoided and avoided and avoided. And what I really needed to do was, number one, recognize that I needed to set him free so that it would set me free so that I could run the race without baggage, without being weighed down by, unfortunately, what becomes in us when we avoid and we don't resolve and we don't conflict well is unforgiveness, is bitterness, is resentment. These are all traits and qualities that pop up in every relationship in life. It's just whether or not we will really meet that obstacle with a mindset that says, no matter what, I will make it over this. But to exonerate somebody literally means the action of officially absolving someone from blame and vindication. And the moment I remember me doing this with my father, somehow, I have no idea, my brother was able to get his phone number because he was off the grid for 16 plus years. I was dealing with Child Protective Services at the time at 18 years old, trying to figure out where this man is. I wanted to let him know that his son was getting married and that, hey, if you ever wanted to have a chance to get to know this, your son, I'm game. And I remember thinking to myself, sweet, okay, I'm going to walk through these stages in the hopes that resolve can come. And for some odd reason, out of the blue, you can call it divine connection. You can call it whatever you want. Coincidence? I don't think so. I remember my brother calling me saying, hey, I found his number. I talked to so-and-so and they were able to give it to me, and I was shocked. But I remember giving him a phone call. And as soon as I picked up the phone and I called him, I was so grateful that he didn't actually pick up the phone, but his voice machine did, his answering machine, right? Imagine those things that we used to have back in the day. And I remember hearing, hi, this is Jerome Skorzewski. Please leave your name and beep, name and message after the sound of the beep and blah, 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 blah. But I was so mortified because I thought to myself, holy cow, I'm hearing an older version of myself. Absolutely scared me because he sounded just like me. And I thought that I was done. I thought that I had overcome that hurdle, and I thought I was on point for seeing that finish line come at that current obstacle in my life, just because I left a message. Little did I know that wasn't the case, because the next day he actually called me back. But here's the beautiful thing, and here's why I'm talking about forgiveness and exoneration, forgiving somebody or setting somebody else free, regardless if they reciprocate the reaction that you're looking for. Because I had to wrestle with, at that point in time, me walking through these steps to overcome this obstacle had nothing to do, as I've been talking to you in the weeks before, as we talk about all these wonderful opportunities for life change, that I wasn't expecting my father to come back with, oh, my son, I'm so excited. Matter of fact, to be honest with you, I was absolutely petrified. And I thought the phone call, if he were to, right, at all even reach out to me, would have been fueled with anger and bitterness on his own end, as like, don't you remember I sent you those letters back? I said return to sender. I didn't want to have anything to do with you. I thought I made that loud and clear. And I'm thinking, holy stinking cow, here I am again. I'm dealing with my own thoughts of rejection, setting the stage for me to even wonder if what I was doing was the right thing. But he called, and lo and behold, it was a moment of restoration that only was able to be experienced because I wasn't going to let that obstacle intimidate me. I wasn't going to let that furthermore interrupt my ability to grow and to become the individual that I need to be every day. But it never stops. It never stops. Obstacles, we have them. Thank God sometimes for the obstacles. I believe sometimes they're self-induced. I could go on and on and on and on and on about the obstacles that I have placed in this race that I am running out of stupidity, but yet you still have to overcome them. But I'm grateful for obstacles because, honest with you, it's that conflict. It's that tension with every day that causes us to be intentional with refining who we are so that we can exist, like I said, this ordinary expression of humanity that is now intentionally pursuing the hopes of overcoming obstacles and bringing about great growth so that we can do extraordinary things with the people that we do life with every day. obstacles. What are you doing? Are you avoiding them or are you overcoming them? Are you training to be able to actually run that race? Do you know how many steps? Do you know the action steps that need to take place in order to set you up to succeed, to overcome that hurdle? I promise you this, you ask any of those athletes, the moment they start that race, they already know how many steps it takes to set up to overcome that first hurdle, and they know the steps in between. The only thing at any point in time that they really don't understand is that if their foot might just slowly drag over that hurdle, or if they knock that thing completely over and it completely screws up their rhythm and their focus and approach to a perfect race, the only thing they know is that don't stop. Don't stop. Overcome the next one. Keep running. You've got what it takes. You've run one race before, 10 races before, 100 races before. Why is this race any different? It's just this. At some point in time, we really need to start running that race that is set before us. And we need to let ourselves, in this moment of great growth and great intentionality, to build your self-esteem and your confidence to set you up to run, not just to always win. Because you win, I love this. You win because you don't stop. But you just keep running. You keep running, and you keep running, and you keep jumping. You keep climbing, and you knock it over and you fall, and you start to bleed, but you get back up again, and you keep running, and you overcome. And as you overcome, that leads to your success. That leads to victory. That leads to self-confidence. That boosts your mindset and perspective that says, no matter what obstacle is before me, if I approach it with the right motive, and the right fortitude and mindset, there's nothing that I cannot do, especially when you surround yourself with great people. And that's what I love about what I do every day here at The Wellness Way, or whether at home, surrounded with great people that want nothing but for me to succeed. And that's what I long for you, is to succeed in life. I'm just going to take a few moments. That was a long rant. It was super intentional, and I wanted to get through it without kind of some distraction and diversions that Ross always potentially brings, because I think this is key. I think it's fundamental for growth tracks. I think it's for this idea that when we put ourselves on a self-trajectory for greatness and to achieve greatness, you can never avoid obstacles in life. You can't. You have to do your best at overcoming and then let the ball lie in the court of the individual now who might have the obstacle placed on their track. But you overcome. You experience greatness in your life. And I'm going to see if I can even find myself on here. I don't even know if am I on? And who's all on, Nancy? Who's all on? Hi, Mom. Hey, everybody. It's so good to see you guys. Honestly, I thank you for taking this time with me. 31 minutes. I know that we try to keep this now between the 25 to 30, but this is one of those things that really, since I started watching that on the TV, it started to stir in me. And, even last night, I had probably 12 different words, but I could not get away from this visual that was setting the stage for me to talk about what it is that we did today and that I was able to share with you. Jade Rabidow, thank you for your kind words. I appreciate that. Samantha Burnett. Hey, Dr. Jacques Moser, my man, how are you doing? You know about obstacles as well. You're a personal trainer for you. You develop your body. You've got these guns. Welcome to the Gun Show. You know what obstacles are like too, personally and even professionally. And hey, you don't have to be sorry about what I went through. I promise you that. We never, honestly, at the end of the day, ask for the things to happen that happen in our lives that set the stage for us to have to process and deviate from the so-called proper way of being brought up in this world. You don't have to apologize. There were decisions that were made. I have no ill feeling towards my father, and I know he doesn't me. I told him I love you, I forgive you. I don't need to know anything about the past, because that's the true essence of forgiveness, is to truly exonerate somebody from any type of sting or any type of wrongdoing, because if you can't do that, then you aren't forgiving. You're not exonerating. And then you're still moving forward with the baggage of that hurt. And that's the best part, because when you can walk away from that and you can set yourself up to be free from that, regardless of what they do, you can move forward in a rhythm with life that brings more peace and success and happiness, even in the midst of conflict and great trials and obstacles to be overcome. You have more peace than you would have if you were still bogged down by past hurts, current hurts, broken messages that have been spoken over you to rob you of your pursuit in life. You don't have to be sorry. I think it was great because it brought me to a place where I had to really find me. And I thank God that I'm still finding me, because we're all in this place to continue to find ourselves and to refine ourselves, in the hopes that as we spill over from the overflow within, we can see this imprint that we are longing to leave in the world around us be that of a positive nature, not a negative one. I can't wait to read your comments. I can't wait to respond. I thank you so much for allowing me to do this time with you every Wednesday morning, and I will continue to say that because that's how grateful I am. And we are all grateful for the fact that you continue to allow us, whether it's the Dr. Patrick Flynn Show, the Quick Tips, if it's coming in on Living Harmoniously, or any of the shows that we bring from the Wellness Way. We thank you for that opportunity to be able to bring information and to speak into your life. We had a great training in Atlanta. It was amazing. And we're already now even beginning to plan and to put into motion the promotion of the next amazing great training that we all have together here on the Wellness Way. And that is Traverse City, August 17th and 18th, where everybody within the Wellness Way, once again, not just all the doctors, but the staff as well, we come together for a huge 2-day personal growth and development and clinical training seminar. And we are hitting the ground running, and we are excited for that. But I thank you again this morning. Continue to like and share. We do have the Hawaii giveaway that as you enter in your name here, you get another entry, and we have tons and tons of response to that. And maybe we just might pick your name, and you can come and do life with Dr. Patrick Flynn, myself, and some great individuals from our team and in the Wellness Way. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you again. Have a phenomenal day. It is the beautiful day that we call Wednesday. It's not the middle of the week. It's not close to the end of the week. It's the day in which we are meant to thrive, and we have 2 more days to be able to do great things before the weekend comes. But it's not about the weekend. It's about right now. So we'll see you next Wednesday morning.